Hi, everybody. It is Eamon here, and welcome to another episode of Pathmonk Presents. Joining us today from the lovely city of Toronto, Canada, we have Rachel from KeyOps. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great. And yourself?
Yeah, doing good, doing good. Great to connect today. And for those who are tuned in, who maybe are not familiar with KeyOps, can you give us a quick download or maybe a quick overview of what the company is all about?
Yeah. So KeyOps, in its simple form, is a physician engagement platform. So we're looking to transform the relationship between physicians and life science companies. And I think it's important to talk about our story a little bit, briefly touch on where did it come from. So it was founded by physicians for physicians. So we have two physicians, Dr. Sam Al-Fassi and Dr. Saeed Dervash. Essentially, they were exhausted with typical life science engagements when it came to lunches and evenings, sort of overtaken by long meetings, and maintaining a work-life balance. And this was really exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. They found themselves working longer hours and having Zoom fatigue sort of came to set in. And this is where they recognize that this is the time to sort of transform how engagements are done into a digital platform between life science companies.
Fantastic. No, I love that story, and thank you for sharing that. And yeah, definitely having work-life balance is always a good thing. And with this, like, what kind of problems do you find? I guess you touched on some of them, but what kind of problems do you find you help solve for your clients?
Yeah. So in terms of two spaces on the physician space, I think what we're allowing is a digital first approach in terms of the engagements that can be provided, rapid payments. So within one business day, they get paid. Also, being able to have life science companies at arm's length is very important. And also being able to quickly involve. I think that's like the main component is being able to do those engagements digitally. And for life science companies, it's a lot about simplified outreach, rapid insights, and being able to speed up the decision making as well.
Fantastic. And with this, I mean, getting the word out about the company, I mean, what do you find are the main channels that you're using? Is it Google? Is it LinkedIn? Is it social media? What seems to be working best at the moment?
Yeah, so I think there's two approaches in terms of organic reach. It's definitely word of mouth through our engagement. So I find that our physicians will refer other physicians based on an engagement. And I think two other components of marketing and social media have to do with our website and social media outlets like LinkedIn and Twitter. What I like about what we do on our website is it tells our story, but it's also an information hub that's very clear and concise, and also has some blog posts as well. And then with regards to social media, we post a lot of thought leadership on LinkedIn and Twitter and engage with our physician demographic as well.
Fantastic. And so with all of this happening, driving people, I guess they're going to obviously the KeyOps website. I mean, how important is the website taking those visitors and turning them into future happy clients?
Yeah, I think there's two components. One is an information hub. So it's really simple to navigate our website and it's very targeted as well. So if you're a life science company, you can get to the right components that you need. And for physicians as well, they have a section for healthcare professionals. It's clearly outlined, simple to navigate. You're not scrolling for too long. But I also think a key component is about building trust. So we lay out all the information so that when physicians are thinking about signing up, it's a key component for them and a key factor. Definitely, a physician wouldn't sign up if a website doesn't have key information, it doesn't outline all the components and what our engagements do. So I think that's a major factor on our website.
Fantastic, fantastic. And kind of switching gears a little bit, Rachel, and talking more about you as a leader within, marketing. I mean, what keeps you busy on a day-to-day basis at KeyOps?
Yeah, it's really fun working at a startup. I think on a daily basis, it's sometimes you have your key components about what you do. So it starts off with me about looking at what is the framework in social media, what sort of strategy are we implementing, and also the day-to-day structuring posts, sending it out, but I think it's also navigating and having relationships with our physicians. So any troubleshooting that we do as well. I think another key component that is important for marketers to also include in their day, which I definitely do, is I start my day by looking at what is out there in the news. So that's a very broad sort of topic. But essentially, I think it's important to stay up to date with, especially in the social media realm, because of the ever-changing landscape in social with regards to all the platforms being out there. So I really start off my day with looking at what's new, what's going on with platforms, what has changed, because it's so fast-paced.
Well, great, and definitely you can be up to date and touch on a lot of stuff as well. So now that we're coming towards the end of our interview, I want to jump into some quick fire questions. So put you in the hot seat for a moment if you're good.
For sure, let's do it.
Let's do it. So what was the last book you read or maybe currently reading?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I tend to read up on social, not so obvious, but very obvious. The book that I have been rereading is The Power of Social Networking by Tara Hunt. And this book, what I like about it's quite an older book, but it really puts in place information about social media from a very beginning time when Web 2.0 was more of a thing. And I'm finding with social media nowadays, there's a lot of noise in terms of within the industry and non-industry leaders talking about quick ways to build your algorithm, platforms changing. And this actually gets to the root of how you can conduct your social media in an effective way. And I think clearing out that noise is one of the main components. You're taking away all that noise and looking at the basics of how can you utilize the platform that's ever changing and do those methodologies of getting engagement, click-through rates, and kind of going back to the basics. It's quite refreshing, especially with social media being a way that many, I think, marketers can also burn out. It's Mental Health Awareness Month, and an approach that I think marketers need to take is really to take a step back and look at a perspective of taking out all the noise, going back to the basics of social media marketing and content management, and what are those steps. So I highly recommend that book for social media marketers.
Fantastic. And yeah, anything that, like you're saying, cut out the noise and just go back to basics is always a good thing. And I guess one of the last questions here is like, imagine you could go back again to your first day, your first week, your first month when you're with KeyOps, knowing what you know now, would you do anything differently? Or, I mean, what advice would you give yourself?
Yeah. Definitely two things is it goes at a fast pace, but to find your methodologies, especially in the startup world, of absorbing what your team tells you, your best learning methodology. So I'm a visual learner. So sometimes whether it's conducting in meetings, I'll write out what needs to get done. Because I think a key component within startups is it's very fast paced. And sometimes we can miss those little details. So I think it's about taking a step back, finding the methodologies of how I work within that company, and also to have fun. I think at the beginning, when you ever start with a company, you're very nervous. You're very structured. You're really scoping out the business you're working for. But I think I'm at a calmer place where I'm enjoying what I'm doing, having fun, and really finding my place within the company as well.
Definitely. Like you had me at fun. So
Yeah.
having fun is always important in everything that you do. I know we're not able to have it all the time, but if you enjoy what you do, it definitely makes it a lot better. So thank you so much, Rachel, for joining us today. Now that we're at the end, I want to give you the last word. I mean, if someone forgets everything that we just spoke about today, if you want to let them with one thing to remember about, KeyOps, what would that be?
We are built by physicians for physicians, and that we are changing the landscape of how physicians interact with life science companies.
Fantastic. Well, look, sounds good. And if people want to find out a little bit more, it's just keyops.io, where they can go check you guys out. So really appreciate Appreciate your time. Thank you so much. So from myself and Rachel, that is it for today. And I look forward to seeing everybody on the next episode of Pathmonk Presents. All the best and bye-bye.